Members, it's time and we have a quorum. Item 1 on the agenda, confirmation of the minutes of the 17th meeting held on the 28th of February 2014. The minutes have been forwarded to members. We have not received any proposals for amendments. Can we confirm the minutes, please? Thank you. Matters arising. My meeting with the Chief Secretary for Administration, nothing to report. Business for the Council meeting of the 19th of March 2014. Report number 13/1314 of the House Committee on Consideration of Subsidiary Legislation and Other Instruments. The report covers 4 items of subsidiary legislation, the period for amendment of which will expire on the 19th of March. As the Administration will move a proposed resolution at the Council meeting to amend the Road Traffic Construction and Maintenance of Vehicles Amendment Regulation 2014, members will have the opportunity to speak on it. As regards the air pollution control marine light diesel regulation, as Ms. Sit Ho, Chairman of the relevant subcommittee, has indicated her intention to speak on the regulation. So, as the Chairman of the House Committee, I will move a motion to take note of the report in relation to the regulation at that Council meeting. Questions? 20 questions, 6 oral, 16 written. They've all been scheduled. Bills first reading and moving of second reading, there are 3. Shipping Legislation Control of Smoke Emission Amendment Bill 2014. The second one, Marriage Amendment Bill 2014. And the third one, Dutiable Commodities Amendment Bill 2014. We will consider these bills at the next House Committee meeting. Bills resumption of debate on second reading, committee stage, and third reading. First one, Inland Revenue Amendment Number 3, Bill 2013. The second one, Product Eco-Responsibility Amendment Bill 2013. Reports were made at the last House Committee for these 2 bills. Government motions. Proposed resolution to be moved by the Secretary for Transport and Housing under Section 34(2) of the Interpretation and General Clauses Ordinance, Cap 1, in relation to the Road Traffic Construction and Maintenance of Vehicles Amendment Regulation 2014. The subcommittee already gave a report to the House Committee at the last meeting. Next one, proposed resolution to be moved by the Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury under Section 7(1) of the Public Finance Ordinance, Cap 2. Again, at the last House Committee meeting, a report was given. 2 proposed resolutions to be moved by the Secretary for Security under Section 4 of the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Ordinance, Cap 525, in relation to the following 2 orders. First one, Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Spain Order and Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Czech Republic Order. Again, at the last House Committee meeting, a report was given. Next, proposed resolution to be moved by the Secretary for Food and Health under Section 29 of the Pharmacy and Poisons Ordinance, Cap 138. Members' motions. Proposed resolution to be moved by Mr. Jeffrey Lam under Section 34(4) of the Interpretation and General Clauses Ordinance, Cap 1, in relation to the Toys and Children's Products Safety Additional Safety Standards or Requirements Regulation, Toys and Children's Product Safety Regulation Repeal Regulation, and Toys and Children's Products Safety Amendment Ordinance 2013 Commencement Notice to extend the scrutiny period of these items. Proposed resolution to be moved by Mr. Tam Yu Chung under Article 75 of the Basic Law of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. Motion to be moved by Ms. Claudia Mo under Legislative Council Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And then I will move a motion as the Chairman of the House Committee on the incident of attack on Mr. Kevin Lau Chen To, the former Chief Editor of Ming Pao Daily News. And then motion on evaluating the effectiveness of the policy on promoting sports in the community, supporting elite sports, and developing Hong Kong into a prime destination for hosting major international sports events, and formulating a long-term sports policy to be moved on Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. Motion on encouraging the return of the industrial sector for development to make Hong Kong's industries more diversified to be moved on Mr. Felix Cheung. Business for the Council meeting of the 26th of March 2014. Questions, 22 questions, 6 oral and 16 written. They have been scheduled. Bills first reading and moving of second reading. First one, Contracts, Rights of Third Parties Bill. Second one, Employment Amendment Bill 2014. And third one, Pharmacy and Poisons Amendment Bill 2014. Government motion. The administration will present these bills to the Council on the 26th of March, and the House Committee will consider them at our meeting on the 28th of March. Government motion. The President has just given approval to the Secretary for Environment to move a proposed resolution under Section 5(4) of the Motor Vehicles First Registration Tax Ordinance Cap. 330. The relevant subcommittee will give a report today. Members' motions. Motion on properly dealing with problems arising from cross-boundary students to be moved by Mr. Tam Yu Chung, and motion on safeguarding academic freedom to be moved by Dr. Kenneth Chen. If I may remind members, the deadline for giving notice of amendments to the above two motions is Wednesday, the 19th of March. Report of House Committee on Consideration of Substitute Legislation. There are 3 items, the period for amendment of which will expire on the 26th of March. The list has been tabled at the meeting. If I may remind members, if you wish to speak on the substitute legislation, please indicate your intention by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 18th of March. Next, reports of Bills Committees and Subcommittees. First one, report of the Bills Committee on Securities and Futures Amendment Bill 2013. Mr. Christopher Cheung. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of the bill is to amend the Securities and Futures Ordinance to provide a regulatory framework for the over-the-counter OTC derivatives market. The Bills Committee held a total of 9 meetings with the administration and also to receive views from deputations. The Bills Committee supports setting up a regulatory framework for the OTC derivatives market in Hong Kong. The Bills Committee also notes that deputations are supportive of such a system. As the rules and details of the regulatory framework will be prescribed in subsidiary legislation, which is subject to the negative vetting procedure of LegCo, the Bills Committee urges the administration to press on with the preparation of the rules for consultation with the stakeholders. Members stressed that the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and Securities and Futures Commission should try to reduce the compliance burden on the industry as they regulate the industry. On disclosure of information on OTC market activities to other regulators, the Bills Committee stresses necessity to protect the privacy of those involved in the transactions. The Bills Committee also urges the regulators to provide sufficient protection to investors of OTC market derivatives. The Bills Committee notes that the administration will be moving committee stage amendments They include the inclusion of new provisions to impose the record-keeping obligation on prescribed persons and to specify the powers of Hong Kong Monetary Authority to charge users of the reporting database. The Bills Committee notes that the administration has consulted the relevant stakeholders on the committee stage amendments, to which there was no objection. The Bills Committee supports the CSAs proposed by the administration. The Bills Committee will not be moving any CSAs, and the Bills Committee supports the resumption of the second reading debate of the bill at the Council meeting on the 26th of March. The detailed deliberations of the Bills Committee are in the written report. Report of the Bills Committee on Rural Representative Election Legislation Amendment Bill 2013. Mr. Yip Kok Him. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Bills Committee held a total of 4 meetings to consider the Rural Representative Election Legislation Amendment Bill 2013. The Bills Committee also received views from deputations and members of the public. The bill seeks primarily to bring the Kaifeng Representative KFR elections under the statutory regulatory framework these are the elections for Cheung Chau and Ping Chau, and then these elections will be subject to the supervision of the Electoral Affairs Commission. The bill is modelled on the existing regulatory framework for the election of resident representatives under the Village Representative Election Ordinance, VREO. VREO will be renamed as the Rural Representative Election Ordinance, and new definitions for rural representative and rural area will be added. The Bills Committee's deliberations focused on whether to the detailed deliberations of the Bills Committee are set out in the written report. The Bills Committee's deliberations focused on whether to retain the existing KFR electoral system as proposed by the administration, how the eligibility of electors and candidates in KFR elections can be verified, the maximum amount of election expenses to be incurred by each candidate, whether Cheung Chau and Ping Chau are market towns, and why Cheung Chau is not included in the list of indigenous villages under VREO. In the light of members' suggestions, the administration will move a number of committee stage amendments to enhance the textual consistency and clarity of the new clauses. Mr. Albert Ho indicates that he might move committee stage amendments to change the existing electoral system for the KFR elections in Cheung Chau and Ping Chau. The Bills Committee does not oppose the resumption of the second reading debate of the bill at the Council meeting on the 26th of March 2014. Thank you. Next, report of the Bills Committee on Loans Amendment Bill. Mr. Kenneth Leung.
The purpose of the bill is to amend the Loans Ordinance to accommodate the issuance of Islamic bonds, that is Sukuk, under the government bond program. The Bills Committee has held one meeting with the administration. The Bills Committee supports the bill in principle. Members of the Bills Committee note that the administration will determine the timing and actual issuance size of Sukuk under the government bond program with regard to the prevailing market conditions and needs. Recognizing the benefits for Hong Kong in developing a Sukuk market and Islamic finance, the Bills Committee has urged the administration to make concerted efforts with relevant parties to promote Hong Kong's Sukuk platform, including fostering cooperation with other financial centers and ensuring an adequate supply of professionals and market practitioners with the relevant expertise. Members have also stressed the importance for the administration to ensure protection for Sukuk investors, given that Sukuk have more complex structures than conventional bonds. Both the Bills Committee and the administration will not propose committee stage amendments to the bill. The Bills Committee supports the resumption of the second reading debate on the bill at the Council meeting of 26 March 2014. The deliberations of the Bills Committee are set out in the written report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Wow.
Thank you. If I may remind members, the deadline for giving notice of CSAs to the above three bills is Monday, the 17th of March. Report of the Subcommittee on Proposed Resolution under Section 5(4) of the Motor Vehicles First Registration Tax Ordinance. Mr. Frankie Yik. Mr. Chairman, the primary purpose of the proposed resolution under Section 5(4) of the Motor Vehicles First Registration Tax Ordinance is to extend the exemption from the payment of first registration tax for electric vehicles by 3 years to the end of March 2014. The subcommittee held one meeting with the administration to consider the resolution. Members in general support the exemption measures. It is hoped that more motorists will be encouraged to switch to electric vehicles, and so roadside air quality could be improved. But in the course of deliberations, members expressed concern on a number of issues, including whether luxury electric vehicles like electric sports cars priced at $500,000 or more should be exempted from first registration tax, what measures the administration should adopt in increasing the number of public charging facilities, how private car park operators will be encouraged to install charging points, and whether electric bicycles should be allowed to travel on the roads, and how the disposal of waste battery would be monitored. The subcommittee does not oppose the moving of the proposed resolution at the council meeting on the 26th of March. The subcommittee will not move any amendments either. The subcommittee notes that Dr. Fernando Cheung plans to move amendments in his personal capacity to change the deadline for the exemption. The detailed deliberations of the subcommittee are in the report. Thank you. If I may remind members, the deadline for giving notice of amendments is Wednesday, the 19th of March. Position on bills, committees and subcommittees. As at the 13th of March, there are 5 bills committees, 7 subcommittees under House Committee, 7 subcommittees on policy issues under panels in action, 3 subcommittees on policy issues on the waiting list. Any other business? Proposal of Ms. Claudia Mo to ask an urgent oral question under Rule 24.4 of the Rules of Procedure at the Council meeting of the 19th of March 2014 relating to the provision of mobile television services by Hong Kong Television Network Limited.
咁就因為呢一個咧。
I only received the notice on Wednesday, and it has passed the deadline. And Ms. Mo proposed to raise this on the 19th of March, according to House rules. Members who ask for asking urgent question without notice should seek the agreement of the House Committee where practicable, and I therefore allow Ms. Mo to raise this issue for discussion. Ms. Mo, you have 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. The incident is absolutely related to public interest. The general impression is whether the administration wants to facilitate business or cause trouble. Mobile TV can now spread into homes, can now reach the homes. The administration gives people the impression that it's shifting the goalposts or even building a new goal. The administration has adopted administrative means and legal means to to combat business. That's a really heavy blow to business. The administration has given a bad impression. The rule of law is very important. Mr. Ricky Wong claimed in black and white that he didn't attempt to go through the loophole of the law and change mobile TV into to extend to the homes. And in fact, the law has no restriction on the system to be adopted. And it's now said that Mr. Wong's proposed system will touch on airwaves, and and there is a distinction between internet service broadcasting, internet broadcasting, and airwave broadcasting. I've asked Mr. Greg So why in the telecommunications market you adopted a free market approach, whereas a free TV market you were afraid that certain companies would fold up. He said that telecommunications market is entirely different from the TV market, and the two are not like with like. The two cannot be compared like with like. Now, it was said that two markets were separate, and therefore the laws were also separate. From Joseph Wong until now, concerning all the documents we see that the broadcasting ordinance regulates the TV market, whereas the telecommunications market belongs to a separate market from the TV market. Why? Everything has been lumped together. The Office of Communications asked Mr. Ricky Wong to adopt the system used by China Mobile, or asked even if Mr. Wong used the European system, which was obsolete, that might breach the law. What kind of business environment is administration going to create? An administration seems to have set a trap for the business. Why unrelated provisions in the past are now regarded as relevant and will be adopted for regulation. It seems that government is calling the shots. Where is the rule of law? Has it become the rule of personality? Who would like to speak? Mrs. Regina Ip. Chairman, I've read Ms. Mo's proposal, and I also looked at clause 24(4) of the ROP. I did move I did ask an urgent oral question. A tree branch collapsed, somebody was killed. I urged the administration to consider emergency measures and safety measures to prevent the reoccurrence of such matters. So it has to be urgent and it has to be of public importance. I agree with Ms. Mo that mobile TV has wide public interest, but it is not so urgent as it should be asked next week, and the problem cannot be solved just by one question. I have noticed that Mr. Ronnie Tong said this morning in a radio talk show said that the matter involved complicated legal matters. Mr. Wong holds the TVE and has the DTMB system. It may lead to legal litigations, and an urgent question therefore cannot be used to deal with the matter. I think it's more appropriate for Ms. Mo to raise this question at the ITBP panel. Ms. Ip Kok Him, I just want to reiterate the point made by Ms. Regina Ip. It is discussed in the public, and it is also an issue of public concern. But if she wants to use the urgent oral question mechanism, she has to comply with two factors. Now, if we do not discuss the matter, that may lead to deterioration of the matter. So there is a sense of urgency if it has to be allowed. Now, concerning this, in respect of an oral question, apart from the point raised by Mrs. Ip concerning the legal issue mentioned by Mr. Tong, I think it is not appropriate for us to support this. Otherwise, anything that is of public interest will be asked as urgent oral questions. Who would like to speak? The Vice Chairman. Now, since members mentioned my name, I have to say something. This morning, I gave my personal view in a talk show of the RTHK. I expressed my interpretation concerning the provisions. I have no inclination towards who is right or who is wrong. And this morning's interview, if cited as a way to oppose Ms. Mo's proposal, is not fair. With regard to the wording of Ms. Mo's oral question, I think that can be further enhanced, and I believe Ms. Mo will believe that as well. Mr. Po-Chair, apart from adopting the analysis made by Ms. Regina Ip on the urgency of the matter, I want to add 2 points. First, if Mr. Ricky Wong or HKTV has not announced the delay of the beginning of the broadcast, then there may still be some sense of urgency. But now there is no such urgency. On the 17th of January 2014, there was the start of correspondence between the Communications Authority and HKTV. The matter has been discussed, and there is no urgency. On the 10th of March, I raised a question and speeded up the processing of the matter. In terms of history, looking back in the past and looking into the future, we have not seen any urgency to the matter. Even if it is a matter of great public concern, which is not disputable, in terms of urgency, we should comply with our rules. And this cannot be regarded as an urgent oral question. Mr. James To. Chairman, having heard Mr. Che's explanation, I think I see it very differently. Say an institution has not got a free TV license, and the decision was unfair. And he has now get a network and is going to start broadcasting. But after a series of correspondence, the start of broadcasting is impeded on technical grounds. Too many people will be able to have access to the broadcasting. That's the reason for rejecting, for impeding the broadcast. In fact, people are expecting the broadcast starting from the 1st of July. There is urgency. If the government can form a view and make a decision, then people can start to receive the broadcast starting from the 1st of July. There is expectation in the community. Now, if they say it may be 3 years, after 10 years, then there is no urgency. But there is urgency because the date is the 1st of July. Well, I give 1 minute to Ms. Mo, and then we'll vote. First, I want to correct the point made by Ms. Yip that it is public's interest. And I also accept Mr. Ronnie Tong's suggestion. I will amend the wording. Now, why China Mobile used that, and there was no problem. They said, you've seen the answer. Therefore, I need to change the wording. I think the whole crux of the matter is the business environment of Hong Kong and creative industry in Hong Kong. This is a catch-22 situation. Now, you need to get a license first if you want to go out of the city. If you want to broadcast mobile TV, you have to get a free license TV. You have to get a free TV broadcasting license, but you will not be given such a license. Now, if you don't clarify the matter, overseas investors will be deterred and Hong Kong will stand to lose. Those in favor of Ms. Mo's motion, please raise their hands. I ask for a division. The bell rang for 5 minutes. Chairman, I just want to clarify this point. It's public interest. Just public's interest in Chinese is 公眾興趣, and public interest in Chinese is 公眾利益. I just want to clarify these 2 points.
現在開始表。
Voting begins.
喺我宣布停止表決之前，請
Before I declare voting closed, please check your vote. If there are no questions, voting is closed. The results are displayed. 52 present, 24, 31 against, no abstention. So the request is denied. Any other business? If I may just remind members that next week I will arrange to discuss, I will include in the meeting an item for discussion on the Shanghai visit. So at the next House Committee meeting in the agenda, I will include an item on the Shanghai visit so that members could give your views to the Chief Executive's office. Now, is it an invitation from Shanghai or is it the Chief Executive making the arrangement for us to visit? Those very two different positions. Well, what you've heard is exactly what I've heard. I don't have any special channels as to what it is. So what have you heard? Is it an invitation or is it the CE's arrangement? It seems the CE has distorted the truth. He's lied again. So, Secretariat, can you confirm whether it's an invitation extended by the Shanghai government or whether it's the CE's making the arrangement or whether it's the CE arranging for the Shanghai government to extend the invitation? Secretariat, anything to add? No. If not, then next week I will give you a clarification in the meeting. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.